It's almost been a decade since the last Saints Row game. Well, 7 to be exact, but who's really counting when you've got so many other games to play, right? Wrong. When it comes to this specific type of sandbox brawler shooter, the only other game you have is GTA 5, which at this point has spanned 3 console generations, which is absolutely crazy when you think about it. But after 7 years of the Get Out of Hell expansion, Volition and Deep Silver deliver us a reboot of this over-the-top and off-the-rails franchise. By the way, before you continue with this video, this is a spoiler warning. Yes, we did review the game in full, however there will be contents of this video that do contain some parts of the end game, but also some commentary on the whole game itself. So, if you're not bothered at all and you don't really care, by all means enjoy the video, like, subscribe and share. However, if you're really like me and don't like spoilers, I suggest you click away, but still subscribe. There are a lot of instances where you're playing this game and you think to yourself, yeah, I remember things like this happening in Saints Row 2 or Saints Row 3, whether it be some of the vehicles making a comeback like the VTOL, or the aesthetic of certain missions in which you will come to find that, yeah, this feels like a Saints Row game. The graphics were really good, especially in the cutscenes. I would have been concerned if otherwise, to be brutally honest with you, but given the hardware and the times that we're in, Deep Silver really wasn't allowed to slack in this department. The way the story is told, I must admit, was very well done. You actually start at the end of the game, or so the cutscene does anyway, and then you have to play out your role as the boss and the main character up until that point. Amid the cutscene, you're actually thrown into the character customization screen as one of the NPC characters named Antonio is waiting to speak with you while you have to get yourself ready to speak. The score beyond that is pretty similar, if not the same as the other Saints games and that have come before it. You're a nobody, so to speak, and have to work your way up the criminal empire ranks while taking out the opposition that gets in your way. Which for this game, we have the Panteros, who are the Latin-inspired Badlands kind who drive monster trucks and muscle cars. The Idols, which are the children of people who call themselves the Collective. These are the high-end kind with polish and shine, or glow. And finally, we have Marshall, which funnily enough is where you start the game, or where you have your first rent-paying job in the game before you get fired for reasons quite obvious. You're an egotistical homicidal maniac. Marshall's a privatized military company owned by, in this current moment, Atticus Marshall, who comes from a lineage of Marshalls before him. At one point, you have a decision to make with him, which took me by surprise, and I gave the game more props for including it in the gameplay. However, as I came to find later after that, doesn't affect the game itself at all through the ending. As I was panicking to write the review for this game, I was very surprised when I actually reached the end, as it prompted me, are you sure you're ready to do this? And as I excitedly pressed yes and went on this 30-minute last hurrah, which ultimately was just another shootout with Nawali as the end game. As it's been the entire game with Sergio, the Collective, Marshall, and now this solo cowboy, it dawned on me that the game was pretty repetitive leading up to the end. Kill goons, kill goon leader, rinse, repeat, rob a train, do a buttload of ventures because you don't have enough, and then kill Nawali because he kidnapped your friends and tried to kill you. Although, given the start of the game, you technically did that first, minus the kidnapping of friends. The characters are okay, but obviously the person with the most charisma, attitude, and everything else is no other than the protagonist that you play, followed by the rest of the crew, Kev, Eli, and Neenah. The other characters, looking back, fall short, as you don't particularly get a lot of screen time from them as you'd expect, like Marshall, Sergio, the leader of the Panteros, the Collective, and Nawali, who, I kid you not, both helps you and literally stabs you with the Judas 3000 knife you bought off teleshopping when you got fired. A lot of them felt like NPCs to say the least, and didn't really play any pivotal roles, bar maybe Nawali, who you imprison, break out of prison, and then try to kill at the end of the game. The best screenplay I saw from any given character was Gwen, and she was a live-action role-playing side character. The customization of your boss though, I need not say anything else. You can be on these screens for hours and hours on end if you really wanted to make the perfect look-alike to your real-life self, or a complete and utter buffoon, or split image of Squidward or Shrek as I've seen from the Boss Factory videos online. The possibilities are endless in the character menus. You are also free to change up your look at any time through the phone app whenever you're on foot, so there's that too. I also came to find that it was a nice touch that every voice option has its own script, and I often found myself switching between voice 2 and voice 4, which had the British accent. That, coupled with the fact that you can also add prosthetic customizations and also vitiligo customizations to your character, made it all the more enticing. Just like the character and road vehicle customizations, you can customize the hell out of your weapons. Certain weapons like the rocket launcher, where you can change it into a guitar case, but for the most part, for your standalone weapons, you're given the choice of added decals, patterns, material colors, and the overall color of different parts of your guns. Gunplay and combat is cool, with each finisher coming fresh and new every time you pull one off, although having only about 5 or 6 recorded animations in a rotation. One thing that irked me a little bit was having to go to the gun store Friendly Fire every time I wanted to use a different pistol, as opposed to having all the pistols I've bought as a submenu in the weapon wheel, reminiscent of the GTA weapon wheel. You're also given special skills that you can activate with the right shoulder button and either of the 4 face buttons, which is cool, but depending on the ones that you have, they could be used very quickly and does take a while to work them back up, requiring you to rack up a handful of kills before being able to use said skill again. Driving around the world is okay, but it's short of anything to harp about. Vehicles have no real sense or feel of speed, so it just feels like all the cars drive the same but have different skins. The most fun vehicles to drive for me were probably the monster truck and some of the motorbikes, which again, you couldn't even pop a wheelie or hold a decent one at that, which kind of sucked. I feel like apart from getting to any destination within 1,000 meters, it's okay to take a road vehicle or even run, but because you unlock a helicopter so early in the game, anything beyond that, just hop in the chopper. The draw distances of the world are also great, but no casual player is really paying attention to that if we're being honest. A lot of the districts in the game actually lacked character. They all look different, and that's all well and good. From the Badlands and sandy areas to the built-up cityscapes, which had faster cars and a higher concentration of martial goons. But apart from that, the vibe was pretty much the same anywhere you went, and NPCs just threw themselves on the road whenever you veered past trying to commit insurance fraud, a venture that you would later unlock in the game. I will disagree with other reviews to a certain extent when they say it's a below average open world game. I would say it's average. But again, there are many times where the game was bursting with bugs to the point where I couldn't fully customize my boss without having to hard reset the game and start the whole thing again. Probably not quite worth the price of admission, given that the standard is £60 and the next one above that is a £25 jump. We'll have to see what these expansion passes bring to the Empire table, so to speak. For a game that gives us so much freedom to be exactly who we want to be, with its very, very deep customization options, it's odd that this reboot struggles to power punch its own identity when it comes to the types of criminal activities it makes available to us before you reach the final showdown. Because truth be told, there are actually a lot of criminal adventures you can do when you load up the Empire table. For anybody who's played the Saints games that have come before, this isn't going to be a wow game. But I will say it's a coat of fresh paint on a game that's been loved by many years before, and that isn't GTA. I'm personally going to give Saints Row 2022 a 6.5 out of 10.
Why?
Well, because I cannot live your life if you are still breathing. You